One of the hardest parts of getting older is feeling like something's off in your body, but not knowing exactly what. It's not just aging, it's often your hormones too. When they fall out of balance, everything feels off. But here's the good news. This doesn't have to be the story of your next chapter. Hormone Harmony by Happy Mammoth is an herbal formula made with science-backed ingredients designed to fine-tune your hormones by balancing estrogen, testosterone, progesterone, and even stress hormones like cortisol. It helps with common issues such as hot flashes, poor sleep, low energy, bloating, and more. With over 40,000 reviews and a bottle sold every 24 seconds, the results speak for themselves. A survey found 86% of women lost weight, 77% saw an improved mood, and 100% felt like themselves again. Start your next chapter feeling balanced and in control. For a limited time, get 15% off your entire first order at happymammoth.com with code NEXTCHAPTER at checkout. Visit happymammoth.com today and get your old self back naturally.
All you homeowners have unique needs. Some feel the need to paint their door a vibrant shade of blue. Others have the need to decorate their bathroom with fish, anchors, and other nautical items. And because each homeowner has unique needs, Geico helps you get the right coverage for your home and what's in it. That way, you get exactly what's right for you, even if your needs are unique. Get more with Geico.
Coming up on episode 251 of Wheel Bearings, we've got the Lincoln Navigator Black Label against the Cadillac Escalade-V, the Kia Stinger, the Ford Bronco, a preview of the Polestar 3, the VW Amarok versus the Ford Ranger, the new Honda HR-V, and more coming up next. Did you know you can support Wheel Bearings directly? Head to patreon.com/wheelbearingsmedia and you can become a patron today. Your contributions will help fund the platforms and tools we use to bring the podcast to you. And exclusives and improvements are already on the way thanks to your generosity. So if you want to be part of an automotive podcast like no other, head to patreon.com/wheelbearingsmedia. This is episode 251 of Wheel Bearings. I'm Sam Abu-Al-Samad from Guidehouse Insights.
I am Nicole Wakeland from the Fast Women podcast.
And I am Roberto Baldwin from Ars Technica.
And this week, because my colleagues are ill-prepared, I'm going to go first.
Fine, just throw us directly under the wheels of the bus there, Sam.
Well, I wouldn't want you to get kind of like halfway under the wheels and then get mangled and be laying there suffering by the curb.
Uh-huh.
If you're going to do it, you might as well finish the job.
You know what? I appreciate that. Thanks.
You're welcome. Like I said, I just don't want you to suffer.
It's like pulling a knife out of my back. I don't want you to do it slow. I just want to yank it really quick that you put in there.
Oh, my God.
I do what I can. Speaking of which, I spent a week driving the 2022 Lincoln Navigator Black Label with the Central Park package. First thing I will say is, if you're going to get a Navigator with the Central Park package, get it in that lovely dark green that they have.
I love it.
I mean, the white's nice, but go for the green.
It's so pretty. I love that color. I was wondering which one you got. That's gorgeous.
And well, unfortunately, I got the white.
Oh no!
Yeah.
Well, then sucks to be you, and I don't feel bad because you threw me under a bus 5 minutes ago. So.
Oh.
No, I absolutely recommend you go for the green. It's a fantastic looking color, especially in the sunlight. Looks great. The Navigator got a mild refresh for the 2022 model year. We drove it for a day back in, was it February, March, I think, out in Arizona. And so I had it for a week this time for a full review, and it's hasn't fundamentally changed since 2018 when the current generation debuted. The new one, got some mild tweaks to the fascia and to the tail lights. Headlights are slightly reshaped, and then in the interior, the main change is they went from a 10-inch center touchscreen to the same 13-inch screen that they put in the Nautilus last year. So you've got a little more screen real estate, and it's Sync 4 now. I think it was Sync 3 before. So all that's good. The rest of it is basically what we've had for several years, which is actually fundamentally really good. It's a solid platform. It's always had good ride quality, for a 6,000 plus pound full size 3-row luxury SUV. It doesn't handle too bad. It doesn't feel flabby or anything. It doesn't roll around too much. Everything's well controlled. Not quite as well controlled as an Escalade with the optional Magna Ride suspension and the air springs, because you don't get air springs on this, but you do get adaptive dampers. So it does a good job of keeping everything under control. The seats, as we've talked about, I think on some previous occasions with various Lincolns, including the Navigator, are these 30-way multi-adjustable seats that if you can't get comfortable in these, you are either somewhat misshapen or just impatient, because there's a lot of things you can adjust. One of my favorite aspects of the seats in this car, though, is the massaging capability, and especially the full recovery mode. I'm very fond of that. Anytime I have an extended drive, it does a nice job of keeping everything, from getting too tightened up in the back. It's got, we've got Venetian leather seating as part of the Central Park package on this. The wood trim inside is an open pore walnut veneer that's been laser etched with basically a map of Central Park, hence the name.
I have to make a comment about the map of Central Park. I know it's a map of Central Park, but you know what I saw when I looked at it? Like a footprint from a sneaker.
Yes, it does kind of look like that.
It looks like your sneaker print you would leave behind.
Yeah.
And as soon as I saw that, they're like, no, it's Central Park. I'm like, sneaker.
Yep. Once you see it, you can't unsee it.
No, it's a sneaker forever.
Yep.
Sorry.
All of the Navigators now are equipped with the 3.5 liter twin turbo. Don't call it an EcoBoost V6 with a 10-speed automatic, because Lincoln stopped using the EcoBoost branding a few years back, and it's just a twin turbo V6 now. EcoBoost is for Fords, for those more pedestrian Ford vehicles.
Yeah, it sounds like EcoBoost. I don't want that on my luxury SUV.
In the Lincoln, it's tuned to 440 horsepower, 510 foot-pounds of torque. And I'm kind of surprised that when they did this refresh that they didn't bother adding the hybrid option in here to give it even more power. No hybrid availability in this one. I think, let's see. The Nautilus doesn't have a hybrid either. So just the Corsair and the Aviator have the plug-in hybrids. It's a lovely vehicle to drive around in. One of the additions that they've added recently with the Sync 4 is Amazon Fire TV capability for the rear seat entertainment system, and also built-in Alexa voice services. So now you have the option. You can either say, hey, Lincoln, and ask it to do something like turn up the temperature or, tune the radio. Or you can say, Alexa, please do the same things. Or if you happen to be using Apple CarPlay, you can do, hey, Siri, or if you're using Android Auto, you can say, hey, Google. So you have your choice of voice assistants, whichever one you prefer. They all work reasonably well. For those sitting in the back seat, there's a pair of 10-inch screens there. So, Lincoln hasn't quite gone whole hog like Jeep has with the Wagoneer, whether with the Grand Wagoneer. I think there's up to 8 screens in the Grand Wagoneer. There's only 4 screens in this one for the cluster, the front center, and then the 2 rear seat screens. But you get the full Amazon Fire TV experience. So if you're subscribed to things like Netflix or HBO or other streaming services through your Amazon account, you can watch all of those in there because there's an LTE radio built in, so you can stream directly to those rear seat positions. And there's wireless headphones included. Also new for the 2022 models is massaging in the rear seats. So not only the front passengers, but also the second row passengers can get
Why even
massage.
bother to drive this? You buy it, you make someone else drive it, and then you just sit in the back.
Well,
Just
the second row
lounge.
massaging seats are not quite as sophisticated as the front row, so
Oh, no.
it's not
you also-
quite as good a massage as you're going to get in the front row seats.
Wah, wah.
Womp womp. Well, that's what they get for sitting in the back being lazy.
Yeah, exactly. So the Navigator starts at the standard trim starts at $77,635, and plus a $1,695 destination fee. So that gets you to 78, a little over 79 grand for the base version. The one I drove was, as I said, the black label plus the Central Park package, which brought the grand total to $108,340. This also includes the Lincoln Active Glide, which is Lincoln's branding for Blue Cruise, which is their hands-free driving system.
Because it also needed to sound like something different than what
Absolutely.
Ford was using.
Yes, yeah, because it's not the same thing. It's a Lincoln.
Totally different.
But, as we've talked about before, it works reasonably well. It's not as good as Super Cruise. It doesn't do lane changes. It doesn't slow down as you're approaching curves if your speed is maybe a little bit too fast for the curve. And it will prompt you in the instrument cluster to put your hands back on the wheel. And if you don't happen to notice that, then it will just kind of drift out of the lane, unlike what it's supposed to do if you don't put your hands back on the wheel. So it's not as good as what GM offers, but it's not bad. It has actually gotten a little better than what we drove previously. There has been a software update to it. So when you're driving in scenarios where it's not hands-free capable, like when you're not on divided highways, it doesn't give you as many false activations to warning you to put your hands on the wheel, even when your hands are on the wheel. So that's a good thing. And unlike the GM system, it does actually use the driver monitor system, even when you're just using the co-pilot hands-on capabilities. So it'll be watching to make sure you're watching the road, and if you're not watching the road, it will give you an alert and say, "Hey, put your eyes back on the road. Don't look down at your phone, or don't spend too much time looking at that lovely 13-inch center touchscreen." The other main complaint I have about this, especially as we were just discussing just before we started recording, here in Michigan, gas topped $5 a gallon a few weeks ago. It's over $7 in California, and I think your gas just topped $5 a gallon in New Hampshire.
It did.
It's over $7 if you're in certain areas if you're getting premium. So it's still like in the mid to high sixes for most.
Oh, okay. Oh, so that's not so bad.
Yeah. But I end up having I have the BRZ and the So I'm putting premium in everything.
Yeah.
But I don't really drive those cars anymore, so it doesn't really matter.
So this Navigator got about 18.2 miles per gallon during my week of driving, which is not great when gas is pricey.
You know what? It's all the massage seats.
That's true.
You get
All that stuff adds a lot of weight.
Yeah. All those seats. If you just got rid
all
of the massaging
weight
seats,
and the power. If you you get 40 miles a gallon if you get rid of the massage seats. That's all I'm saying.
On the plus side, it does do better than the Grand Wagoneer does, which was about 15 miles per gallon. So, there's that.
but the Grand Wagoneer also has all the off-roady stuff.
It does. It is much more off-road capable
Also
than the
weight.
Lincoln is.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
In defense of that.
It has weight.
It has the weight.
All of these big SUVs have weight to spare. They have lots of weight.
I experienced that myself with a car I'll talk about later. So.
Okay. So that's the 2022 Lincoln Navigator Black Label Central Park Edition. Mm-hmm. Who wants to go next?
Me. I'll go. I'm more ready than Robbie.
Wow. No, I'm ready.
No, I'm ready. I'm going next. Move. Okay. So I had this was a very Bronco-y week. I have one that I can't talk about with you guys yet. I drove the Bronco Raptor out in the desert. but I can't say anything about it for another week. So yeah, that a raptor or was that like a kitty?
I don't know what a Raptor sounds like. I don't think anyone really does.
We can say it's
like
wide and has big tires on it, really big tires.
Yes, we've seen pictures. You've seen pictures. So I've
seen it in person.
Yeah, see, I know. I think a bunch. Have you seen it in person, Robbie? I've seen it in person before this event anyway, too.
Wait.
I don't know if they've had it. Did they have it in Chicago?
No. They did have it in Chicago.
I thought they had it in Chicago.
And they had it in New York, too. So it's like 10 inches wider than a standard Bronco.
Yeah. So I will talk about what it was like driving that in the dirt next week, because if I talk about it now, Ford sends its goons to come get me. But what I can talk about is the car that is in my driveway right now, which ironically enough is a Ford Bronco. But this is completely different. It's funny because after driving that,
it's a pseudo Bronco.
It's a pseudo Bronco. I have the Bronco two-door first edition. The first edition.
Oh, okay. So it is a real Bronco.
It's a real Bronco. No, not the Sport. I have a real Bronco. Did I say Sport earlier? I may have when I was talking to you. Nope, it's actual Bronco. Okay. I have the actual Bronco, but it's a 2021 two-door first edition. First edition is gone, so if you wanted that, too bad. You can buy it online, like used from somebody. Yeah. But so I have this one. It's the first time I've driven the two-door Bronco for more than just like a brief time on my own. And I had my daughter with me last night, who's 18, so not little girl, like adult size. Her getting in and out of the back of that thing. Lord, people, don't buy a two-door if you plan on putting any adults back there. It is not easy to access that second row. I watched her very ungracefully crawl out of it and thought to myself, she's 18. If she is like...
she's having problems.
Exactly.
The rest of us are doomed.
Exactly. What chance does anybody else have? So it's really that second row, if you get the two-door, better be like every now and then in emergency, or the dog's hopping back there. I think the dog probably would have plenty of room.
It's for Robbie, is what you're saying.
It's the Robbie car, yeah. It's the Robbie version. It's the Ford Bronco Robbie. I
like that.
Yeah, Ford
That's
Bronco Robbie.
coming for 2023 model year.
Coming for 2023 model year.
It's just a manual transmission, 2 doors, and everything else. Just leave me alone. I just want to drive.
Yeah, there's seats. You have to crank them up. It takes 20 minutes to adjust your seats.
Nothing but the Sasquatch package, so you can go off road.
Yeah, the click, 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 and it moves like a quarter inch with each click. You have to click it 50 times. Okay, so first edition Bronco. So I love the color of this. By the way, it's called Lightning Blue Metallic, and I'm now really curious if that's the same lightning blue that's on the Lightning. Like, because it looks very similar. That's striking. And I'm like, they called it Lightning Blue Metallic. Now, granted, this is pre-Lightning, so I don't know, but it's really beautiful. And inside they're leather trim, but they're like a vinyl gray and navy seats. So the idea being that you can take your top off and it can get messy and dirty and you can clean it off without having to worry about it. Or Robbie's dogs can run across it and everything could be fine. Woo! It has a 2.7 liter V6, 315 horsepower, 410 pound-feet of torque. This has the Sasquatch package, which adds 35-inch tires, gives it a bit of a lift, gives you front and rear locking differentials. So it takes what's already a pretty off-roady car and makes it even more so. If you want to off-road, you can. I think everyone's pretty sold on this. You can off-road in the Bronco if you want to off-road in the Bronco. If you want to do some crazy stuff, you can. I like the thing that I've always liked is this trail turn assist, which I know I've talked about before, but it's so neat because it's the kind of thing that a very, very small percentage of off-roaders will ever need to use. But instead of turning the wheel and like just, driving forward and to the right, it kind of pivots you. It's almost like you're pivoting in place, like you're on a pin. So if you're in a really tight spot, I kind of feel like it's the, I screwed up. How do I get out of here function? That will let you pivot to get out. So I like the trail turn assist. And there's like a trail one pedal drive. So think of it like one pedal driving, in an EV. You don't have to hit the gas. You don't have to hit the brake. It modulates. Well, the one pedal drive lets you just work with one pedal instead of both. So you can modulate things a little bit easier. Focus on steering and not, hitting a rock or scraping the side of your car if you're in a narrow spot, instead of having to focus on keeping your speed quite so much, which is kind of nice. It has the goes over any type of terrain, the GOAT mode that is, standard thing in the Bronco. So it's the Bronco that does all the Bronco-y things, but now there's Bronco-y Broncos with the Raptor and with the Everglades. So they've come out with some sort of special editions. I like the Bronco. My only real complaints about it, if you're an off-roader, you know what you're getting into. You're not getting a Mercedes sedan. you're getting an off-road vehicle that feels like one. It handles pretty well when you're not off-road, when you're driving on the highways. But what I do find, and I find this, that it's intrusive, and it was funny, both my husband and daughter found the same thing. It is loud inside of that. It is really, really loud. And
do you have the soft top?
We had a hard top. We have a hard top, and this comes from we drive a Wrangler with that Sky One Touch, so it has the like sort of retracting soft top. So we have a vehicle that has a part, mostly soft top on it. It's louder than that, and it's a hard top, and there's a noticeable difference. Like you get onto the highway and you hit 55, not even, and you're raising your voice. You're turning up the radio. You literally.
What?
Yeah, it's literally enough that like whoever's in the back seat is constantly saying what because they can't hear what the people in the front seat are saying to each other. So
it's that road noise too. You have the Sasquatch package. So
I have the Sasquatch package.
Those tires are like.
Yeah, there's just so much noise. So it's not quiet. But like I complain about it at the same time as I see it. But you're not buying this if you want a particularly quiet car.
Yeah.
No.
Like there are other vehicles out there that will do that, but if you just want a vehicle that's a really off-road beast and can do whatever you want it to do, that you can pretty much go anywhere that you want to go off-road, then the Bronco fits the bill. And this one was, I found the price. I had to go back and look because it wasn't on my sheet. And now I've lost it. I don't know, you guys. It's whatever I pay. Whatever you pay.
It doesn't matter because you can't get it anymore.
It doesn't matter because you can't get it anymore.
Markups are like 30 to 40,000.
It was 57, just over 57. So that's what this was. So you could probably find the first edition out there somewhere used. I bet you'd pay more. You think you'd pay more?
You'd probably pay at least 75.
75, yeah.
I'm going to Google that while we're talking. I'm going to see used Ford. I'm going to see if I can find out because now I'm curious.
And while you were describing it, I looked up the colors, and the Lightning Blue is different from the two shades of blue they offer on the Lightning, which are, one is the Atlas Blue. That's the lighter one that they have on the Lightning. And then the dark blue that they have is the Antimatter Blue.
Oh, that's the one I like. I like the antimatters.
That one's a lot darker than the Lightning Blue.
Well, maybe it's that. So,
if you're buying a car where the doors come off, you're probably not thinking too much about road noise.
That's true.
Exactly. So, like, as I complain about,
or at least you shouldn't be. You should be like, this car's so
definitely
loud
not a priority.
It's like for the guy. I think the only person that's going to matter for there are a fair number of people. I know some of them that buy a car just because it's a cool car. Like everyone's buying this now. I'm buying one. I want to buy one. It's like, do you off road? No, dude, but I'm going to buy one. The most off roading you've ever done is like a field at the state fair, but you're going to buy a Bronco? Really? That's your plan?
Well, you can get this. Well,
there's a word for that, but we're not going to use it here. Okay. So while you're looking up what the current resale values of first launch edition Broncos are, Robbie, what have you had?
So I wasn't going to talk about this, but then I was like, well, I guess I should say something. I am the last automotive journalist to drive the Kia Stinger. The last one on the planet.
Wow.
They had one in the fleet.
Wait, you've really never driven one until just now?
I've never driven the Kia Stinger.
How is that possible?
It was just one of those things where it just didn't, like when it came out, where I worked, it wasn't something they wanted to cover. So that was that. And then I went over to Car and Driver, and at that point, and then COVID happened, and so there was no point in driving it then because Car and Driver had already done everything they needed to do. It was COVID. There were months and months and months before we got a car. And so it was just like this sort of perfect storm where it's just this vehicle I just haven't driven. And so I got it the other day. The problem is that the only place I've really driven it to is to the airport and back at 3 a.m. and at 11 o'clock at night.
So how did that really long drive experience go for you?
Well, just getting in, you're like, oh, this is really nice. So I so far, I really like it. I really like the seating position. I got the rear-wheel drive version, so I like the way it feels. It has this,
I have to interrupt you. I found the 2021 Ford Bronco First Edition two-door on one site for $85,000.
That sounds right.
It's looking as if this get 60 to 75 is about the average. But someone's trying to get 80. It only has 495 miles on it.
And shockingly, there is not a single one listed on Bring a Trailer.
Wow.
85. Yeah. Okay, sorry, Robbie. I was just so dumbstruck by the 85.
No, you should. I've been to a dealership where they told me that they were They were adding $40,000 to each Bronco that came into stock. $100,000.
Good gravy. Okay, continue on with your very long Stinger drive experience.
So I drove the Kia Stinger. I so far I like it. And I think there's now the running joke about the Stinger is a great car that everyone loves that is going to be discontinued in the near future. So I looked up the sales figures of the Kia Stinger.
I was going to ask that. Do they sell? Is it really because it just sells like a stinker?
So in 2018 they sold 16,800, which is it's a niche vehicle. It's not. 2019 they went down to 13,800. 2020, which is sort of weirdness, so that's hard to 12,500.
Yeah.
And then 2021, which is still sort of weird, 13,500. So in the year where it's hard to actually build them, people started buying them again at 2019 levels. But I mean, when you compare it to, say, not the Hyundai Sonata, which is like, in 2018 they sold 105. In 2019 they sold 87,000. In 2021 they said 83,000. So that's, yeah. But let's say the Mazda 6, 2021 they sold 18,000 of those. And the TLX, 2021, 26,000. So I don't know. I really like it so far. I know everyone else really loves the Stinger. I wish I had a manual transmission, but I wish everything had a manual transmission. But it feels like a really, really nice car just in my very short time behind the wheel. And you can't, I'm going to say this again, you can't say, well, there's no more sedans in the world, or there's no more this, or there's no more that, and then not buy those vehicles.
Yeah.
You can't say, well, I really want this type of car, and then when that type of car is available, you go out and buy a CR-V.
That's the thing. Everybody does it. Like, but I don't know why everyone's getting rid of sedans. Everyone buys sedans. Do you have one? No, I have a truck and I have an SUV. Well, if you really want sedans, buy them. Clearly, the fact that you're just like, we should have them is not enough to make them stick around.
Yeah, like, I want more manual transmissions. Do you own any cars with manual transmissions? No. Well, no.
No, I don't. Well, then, shush.
I do.
Look at Sam. I do. I can talk you can talk all you want about it, Sam.
Yeah.
You're the only one justified.
No, I have a manual transmission.
I don't anymore. I did.
Oh, no, you're dead to us.
I know. I'm sorry.
Well, it was nice having you on the show, Nicole.
Yeah,
Thank
bye,
you.
guys.
Thank you for joining.
Yeah, everyone.
Yeah, so, but having driven this for just a short amount of time, I am looking forward to seeing what Hyundai and Kia do with their upcoming EV sedan. Because the EV sedan, if it drives like the Stinger...
Right.
That's a game changer, because that means it essentially drives like an i4, except it's going to be less expensive.
And we should be seeing the Hyundai Ioniq 6 sometime this fall, I think.
Yeah, so get ready for Halloween extra fun time.
But it won't be at the Detroit Auto Show in September.
Okay, so it's Halloween or what's after Detroit? Oh, L.A.
Yeah.
Is in November.
LA's where we'll probably see it.
Yeah, we'll see it.
Yeah.
And so let's get ready for some Thanksgiving.
Hyundai will not be participating in the 2022 Detroit Auto Show.
It's an expensive show. That's what I've heard from automakers. Like,
they all
most
are.
Expensive. They've told me it's the most expensive.
New York is actually the most expensive. But
really?
Yeah.
Someone told me Detroit. I feel like I've been lied to. Anyway, Kia Stinger. I'll tell you more about it later. I'll also have the Cherokee 4xE to talk about next week, probably. Yeah.
4xE.
4xE.
All right. Speaking of, actually, we weren't speaking of EVs. And we were
Speaking of EVs.
Yes, Sam.
No, I said EV. I said EV.
He did. Somewhere in there he said
Stinger EV is going to be
that's
dope.
right. Yes. So there's another EV that's a new EV that's coming out this fall. One of many, which is the Polestar 3. And we finally got an initial image from Polestar this week. Unlike the Polestar 2, this one is sort of an SUV, or more sort of an SUV than the Polestar 2 is. Have you two had a chance to look at this thing yet?
Yeah, I want to see the front because it has that little airway, those vents coming off of the hood from the front. So I really want to see the front of this car.
Do we just have that one profile image?
That's
Is
it.
that it?
That's all. That's all they're showing us.
Well,
so it's kind of
dang
a sleek wagonish, tall wagonish type of vehicle.
Oh, but I see what you're talking about. The vent. What is that on the hood?
I don't know.
It's
that
for
is
air. Just to create an air curtain, or
it might be, like to control the airflow over the front, the top of the car, as it flows over the windshield and the roof. It's kind of peculiar.
Yeah, I want to see the front of this car.
Yeah, it's like a little front wing. Like you look at it, it almost looks like it should be on the back, but it's on the front. It's very low.
Yeah.
I mean, that can't be more than a couple of inches, if that.
And they recreate, so they have Thor's hammer and the lights, which, Volvo, but they also sort of recreate it in that little vent right below it. I want to see the front. I mean, the side looks cool and fun.
Yeah, you know what? It looks like there's a lot going on the front of that car. I'm really curious.
Show me the front. Show me the front. I guess they'll show it to us later.
Eventually, not today. I don't think our chanting's going to change that,
I think
unfortunately.
October is when we will see the full reveal of this car. And so this will be the third model from Polestar, and this is sharing its platform with the replacement for the XC90, which is also going to be all electric. And they're saying they're projecting that the Polestar 3 is going to have a range of 372 miles on the WLTP test, which is what they use in Europe now. So it'll probably be somewhere around about 300 miles on the EPA range.
On a big car, on a big luxury car.
Yeah.
Which is kind of like where everyone's going with the big luxuries, but it's a trick. This is a trick. This is a visual trick, because it's the same thing we had with the Ioniq 5, where we're like, oh, look at this tiny little hatchback, and you got it like, oh wait, no, this is like
Not
the size
tiny.
of is almost the size of a CRV. This
Yeah.
is the size of an XC90, people. So when you look at it, and the wheels are pushed out so far that it looks like it's the size of a RAV4. It's not.
Yeah, nothing wrong with those kinds of visual tricks that make it look smaller. And what's interesting, this clearly has a much lower roof profile than the current generation XC90. The current XC90 is a fairly tall vehicle, and the Volvo Recharge concept that they revealed last year, which is a preview of the Volvo branded car, has a similarly low roof line to it, and it's hard to tell from this image whether this is going to be a 3-row or not. It kind of looks like it's not. Like it might only be a 2-row, at least for
That image doesn't make it look like it's big enough for 3.
Yeah.
It looks too short too, like you would be squished.
Yeah. I guess you could. You could fake one back there. Who has a really bad 3rd row?
Who doesn't?
I was going to say, an easier question is, who has a good 3rd
Kia
row?
Sorento. Oh, the Navigator has a great 3rd row.
Oh yeah, the Navigator's a bust though.
Yeah. But yeah, and kind of more mid-size, mid to upper middle size vehicles. Yeah, none of them have a really great 3rd row, and even the current XC90 is not an exceptionally large 3rd row. So anyway, this is coming this fall. We probably won't get it in production is expected to begin in early 2023. So we'll see it in October, but it won't be available until early next year. So that is the Polestar 3. Not an EV is the VW Amarok, which VW released some images of this week. And back in 2019, or might have even been 2018, Ford and VW did a deal to, a product sharing deal where VW would get some commercial vehicles and trucks based on Ford platforms, and then Ford would get to use the MEB electric platform from Volkswagen for some EVs in the European market. And the first of these vehicles on the VW side is the Amarok. VW's had a midsize pickup available since, about 2013 or 14, I think. But outside of North America, they've never sold it here. And it doesn't sound like they're going to sell this one here. But this is based on the new generation Ford Ranger, which is launching here It's going to be on sale here also early 2023. And looks quite a bit, the Amarok is styled quite a bit differently from the Ranger. What do you guys think about this?
Okay, is this image with all the rhinoceroses actually an official image? The rhinoceros image. It's like got this mock-up like it's on safari, and like the guy has a rhinoceros on his shirt.
Yes, I believe it is. Yeah.
If they're going to show this, there had best be an Amarok rhinoceros edition, or I'm going to be really sad. I want to be able to get a little rhino on my door. I want that one. one.
Well, they do sell the Amarok in Africa.
Well, I want this.
So you'll have to go to Africa to get one.
Dang it!
As long as she gets the rhino, that's all she cares about. That's all.
Do you guys see what I'm talking about? The guy has he's got his, and there's a rhino off in the distance.
Yeah.
Like, hey, what are you guys doing? This is my place.
He's like, yo, what's up? I live here, but boys, get out the way. No,
Whose house?
I
my
want this.
house.
But it looks really good. I wish it would go on sale here because I think it's the little truck thing has. I mean, it's sort of hot right now. The little truck thing.
Well, this isn't so little though. I mean, this is a mid-size. This is this is a Ranger.
It's Colorado.
Well, but I mean, it's not an F-150.
That's true. It is more reasonable in size than an F-150.
When I say little, I mean not F-150. I should clarify.
Yeah.
Like not the F-150. It's not like
it's a Ridgeline.
It's Ridgeline. It's more like you can park it in the grocery store parking lot without having to just pick the spot at the end of the road because it's the only one you can fit in. Like I like this. This size truck is cool.
Yeah, no, it's a good size. I mean, one of my neighbors recently traded in got rid of his 2014 F-150 and got a Ranger.
Did he really?
To replace it. Yeah.
What made it? And he downsized, and he was happy.
Yeah, he's happy with it.
He's probably tired of trying to find parking and just being like,
It is hard to find parking in big trucks.
It is.
Just because I don't drive it like every day of the week. I have one for a week, and then they put me in, a Honda Civic, and like I have no sense of the size of things.
They're so much wider than most other vehicles, for one thing. So you have to find a parking space where there's nobody on either side.
Yes.
And you end up filling up most of the space between the lines. Mm-hmm. So if somebody pulls in beside you, then you can't get the doors open.
Yes.
It's a pain in the neck.
It's a challenge.
It is. So hopefully we can convince Volkswagen to sell the Amarok Rhino Edition here in North America.
The Amarok Rhino Edition, I'll buy it. You'll sell one. You'll sell at least one. I want the Rhino though decal
and proceeds from that can go to save the rhinos.
Right? It can be all like you've done a little PSA by building this car. Do this, Volkswagen.
Yeah. Contribute some money to
save the rhinos together.
Contribute some money to the poaching hunters.
Mm-hmm.
The poacher hunters.
Yeah.
There you go. Because poaching hunters just sounds like you're going out poaching. It's the poacher hunters. That's the people you want.
Poacher hunters. Yes, that's what I meant to say.
Okay, we are not the Wheels Bearing podcast
does not endorse poaching anything.
No,
not endorse poaching of any and all creatures.
All right. Also new this week, we finally get to see the U.S. market version of the new Honda HR-V, which is a completely different vehicle from the HR-V that was revealed either late last year or earlier this year in Europe and other parts of the world, which that HR-V, like the first generation HR-V, is based on the Honda Fit or Jazz, depending on where you are. The HR-V that we're getting is like the original CR-V 20 plus years ago, is based on the Civic, which makes it significantly larger than the old HR-V. It is now something like 9 inches longer than the previous gen HR-V that is going away, and it's one of the things that they talk about in the press release is that it's getting a more responsive 2-liter 4-cylinder engine. So it's the base engine from the Civic, which has all of 148 horsepower, I think, or maybe not even that much. 158 horsepower. So it's a little better than I thought, but not much. As opposed to the 141 that was in the 1.8 liter in the old CR-V. But the problem I always had with the old CR-V, as much as I kind of like the packaging and the size of it, that 1.8, the CR-V or the HR-V was quite a bit heavier, like several 100 pounds heavier than a Fit, and it always felt a little sluggish. And since this thing is 9 inches longer, but Honda has notably not discussed how much this thing weighs. I'm guessing that this is going to be significantly heavier than a Civic because, it's all-wheel drive and taller and bigger. So it's, this is probably going to be, 30. The old one was 3,140 pounds for the all-wheel drive. This is probably going to be upwards of 3,300 pounds. So I'm not sure there's actually going to be any performance improvement from this one. What do you think about the design of this new HR-V?
As a front.
Okay, I feel like I can't say anything about this. I'm going to be totally honest because I'm going on this drive program for this on Tuesday, and I had just read all the embargoed stuff they sent us.
Oh, so you can't say nothing.
I'm afraid I'm going to say something that I read in embargo and not just released. So I'm going to sit here quietly.
Robbie, what?
Okay. Bring back the jazz.
Yeah.
Bring back the fit. That's my big takeaway. I don't know. The front is. I don't know if I like the front or don't like the front. It's. I don't hate it, but I don't love. I don't know. I feel like this is something I have to see in real life. The front of this car because it looks like they just took the front off like a Taurus from the 90s and just slapped it onto a Honda. I don't know.
That description.
That's not. It's not a bad way of putting it.
Yeah.
Honda's got this weird thing with design. They seem to oscillate back and forth between doing dull and interesting. And interesting. The 2 generations ago, the Civic was dull. Then last generation, they made it interesting. The new one is more dull again.
Dull, yeah.
And now they've done the same thing going with the HR-V and the.
I don't want Honda to be like, oh, people don't like it, so we're going to go back to dull. Because I would rather have this than dull. At least something that looks different. There we go. I'm going to say it's better than the last HR-V looks-wise, just because it doesn't look like it disappears. And that's the whole thing with the HR-V, it just sort of disappears. It's urban camouflage because it looks like everything else, and you're just like,
I mean, I would argue that this thing looks even more like camouflage than the old one.
Even more dull?
Yeah.
Even more dull. Oh, God.
Yeah. If you look at the side, you're just like, oh, okay.
I mean, this could be any number, any of 20 different, small crossovers.
Yeah. I don't know. I mean, maybe I'll drive it and I'll be like, oh, man, this thing is dope. Although that's probably going to be a tough sell. My big takeaway: bring back the Honda Fit.
Yeah, I would agree with that. Especially if this doesn't have the magic seats. The magic seats were always one of the great things about this and about the HR-V and the Fit.
They were magic. I mean, who doesn't love magic?
Magic seats? I don't remember.
The magic seats in the Fit and the HR-V, the back seats, you could either flip up the bottom seat cushion. So you'd have, that whole space behind the seats from the floor to the ceiling. So if you wanted to put taller stuff in there, like bicycles and things like that, it fit great. Or you can just fold it all down and have a nice long flat load floor all the way from the rear hatch.
What everyone's missing is that as Sam is talking, Robbie is doing hand motions like he's either directing an airplane into the jetway or he's telling me how this folds. That was great.
I'm just giving you a visual representation of how much. Look how far down the floor is, but then when you have this, it kind of like that.
Yeah. I getcha.
They had the old CR-V had that too. I don't know.
Did the CR-V have it too? Oh, okay.
Like old back in the day, like our old CR. We had a CR-V for a short amount of time. Someone. I don't know how we just ended up with the CR-V at some point. And that was it had a picnic table in the back.
Oh, nice.
Like for the wheel well, like the cover was a picnic. You could take it out and it had little arms that came down.
I had that version of the CR-V. I think that was the year that we had it. That was a long time ago.
It looked like a Panda if you got the black and white one. And we had that car for 3-4 years, and it wasn't until the day that we sold it that I found the button to open the rear, the tailgate in the car. Because I was like, where is the button to open the tailgate in this car? I just gave up.
Bad.
And then the last day we had it, I was cleaning it out and getting it all. And getting it. Oh, there it is.
Oh my God, that's
because I was doing a good deep clean, and then I found it, and I was like, well, that's great, that's wonderful. Well, goodbye, CR-V.
All right. Well, moving back to EVs for a moment. If you're going to drive an EV, you got to charge it from time to time. And one of the cool things, if you have a Ford F-150 Lightning, like I have in the driveway right now, which we'll discuss next week, is it has Pro Power on board, which you can use to charge other EVs if you want. And apparently, when they started shipping the Lightnings to customers, the one that I have is a pre-production unit that does not have this extra little accessory, but the customers that are getting their Lightnings are finding that in the bag with the charging cable, there's also a nice little adapter that will fit into a Tesla charge port. So if you're driving along in your Lightning and you spot a Tesla sitting by the side of the road with a dead battery, you can help them out, and you can stop off and give them some extra electrons, and you can plug right into their proprietary Tesla charge port.
It's not trolling.
No.
It's just
not trolling at all.
That's right.
Just helpful. Just, okay.
Yeah.
Hey,
yeah, because somebody had posted about this on Twitter or somewhere, or one of the Tesla forums, that Ford was trolling Tesla owners, by including this accessory. And Jim Farley responded and said, "Nope, not trolling, just being helpful."
Just being helpful. We're givers.
Being
We're givers at Ford.
I mean, if anyone has the least likely chance of running out of power, it's Tesla owners, because the supercharger network, best network, blah 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 blah. We all know all that. That's the killer app for Teslas, is that supercharging network. But if you're out in the middle of nowhere, you weren't paying attention, maybe you had the air conditioning blasting for some insane reason, I don't know. And when the Ford Lightning comes by, they can give you a little extra something. It's going to take a while. It's going to take a little while.
Well, I mean, you can charge up to 9.6 kilowatts with that.
Yeah, so if you're getting 9.6 for an hour, let's see, if it's about 4 kilowatt. If you're doing a Model 3, they get about 4 miles per kilowatt. So if you do a half hour, you're going to get like a nice 20 miles of range. Yeah. And that'll get you where you need to go.
Perfect.
Hopefully.
All right.
Hopefully.
Sticking with chargers, in the infrastructure bill that was passed some months back, they included $7.5 billion to build out more public charging infrastructure across the United States. And this week they issued some rules for what's going to be required for anybody that wants to get some of those billions of dollars.
It will slow everything down. Okay, what are our rules?
I mean, to me, there's nothing here that doesn't make sense. They're requiring at least 150 kilowatt chargers for DC fast charging. They've got to be located within a mile of a highway. So if you're driving along, you don't want to have to get off on an exit and drive around for another 5 or 10 miles to find the charger. So it's got to be located relatively close. They've all got to be standard CCS connectors, charge connectors, and they cannot require the user to have to log into an app, or sign up for any kind of account to use them.
Then so how do they pay? Do they just randomly?
There's credit card readers.
Like a credit card swipey thing? So
just like use at a gas pump.
Yeah, because a couple of years ago I did an article about why people had to say, and they were like, oh, well, they kept coming up with reasons why they couldn't just put credit card readers on their chargers. And then they finally just realized, oh, people don't want to sign up for 15. I don't have to sign up for Mobile, Chevron, Shell.
Right, you just go to a gas station and
go to a gas station and I pay with my credit card. So that's pretty much where the charging companies are right now.
So is there anything else that you would like to see them do as part of this program?
I'm confused how it has to be no more than a mile off of highways, but they want them in rural, country, and tribal communities. Doesn't the rural negate the highway part?
Yeah. Well,
you'd be surprised what's called a highway in this country, by the way.
Maybe that's it. It's the definite. What is a highway? It says major highway. Yeah. I'm reading in this article. I'm like, how can you be on a major highway but yet also be rural and country?
Yeah, a lot of little things go through rural and country. I mean, it's essentially where all the gas stations are. Nothing more than a mile off a highway. Like a Shell station isn't like 3 miles from the interstate. Yeah. If you're driving across the thing, and if you want the money. If
yes,
you don't,
if you want
yeah,
money.
You can
right, you
still
can put
build
one
it.
anywhere.
Right.
yeah. But for like, let's say I build 20 of them and 18 of them like work with this within this structure, then I get money for 18 of them, and the other two that I
can
put
stick
out,
in the middle of nowhere.
yeah, I can put in the middle of nowhere.
That makes sense.
Right. And this is, I think, because this is $5 billion. There was $7.5 billion set aside in the infrastructure bill. I think this $5 billion is just the portion for DC fast charging. There's another couple of $1 billion for level 2 charging, public level 2 charging, in particularly in underserved areas. So I think those can be placed wherever it's convenient. Or I'm sure they'll have some rules. But trying to make sure that people in more rural areas have access to at least level 2 charging, public charging.
I mean, I don't know how they would do it, but I still think there needs to be something that says, hey, at least 80% have to be working at all times.
Well,
Like,
actually,
yeah,
it says I think it's actually 97% uptime is what's required.
Oh, okay.
But then
Well,
what if you don't? What if you have 90? But once you have the money and you've done it, what do they do? Take it back if your charger's always broken?
Yeah, I'm not sure. It's not clear exactly how.
How would they do that? Like, rip that charger out, give us our money back. You are no longer working all the time. We want our money back. Like, what's the rule on that?
They probably dole it. They probably don't give you all the money. They probably dole it out like in sections. And then they're like, okay, over like a course of like
maybe
X amount
they
of
fine
years.
you.
This is
like
an awful lot of work to get money for a charging station. I'm saying because I plan, of course, on opening 800 charging stations in the future.
Yeah,
I don't know. Like most of this stuff, they should be doing anyway. To be completely honest, I mean, if you're still building 50 kilowatt DC fast chargers, if you're still putting those out, what's wrong with you?
I know.
Stop it.
Yeah,
stop it.
There should be nothing. There should be nothing less than 150 kilowatt chargers out there at this point.
And if you're putting less than 4, and you're like, I'm just putting one in the middle of a field, stop it.
Yeah.
It's like going to a gas station and having one pump.
Yeah.
You want the Buc-ee's of EV charging? Is that what you just sort of just have like a whole field worth of nothing but EV chargers, like Buc-ee's?
Well, that's what basically what Tesla is putting in. Where is it?
Yeah,
Bakersfield
everywhere.
Or somewhere. They're doing a supercharger station with I think 100 charge ports. Halfway between LA and Vegas.
They're putting one off the highway here in right just the border as you come into New Hampshire in a little strip mall, and I think I counted 14 as I was driving by, which is a lot of Tesla superchargers right off the highway in New Hampshire. It's not like we're this huge EV market. It's like, wow, that was a pretty big investment.
Yeah.
Well, it will be. That's the thing, is that people will see that, and then when they're thinking, what am I going to buy? And the Tesla superchargers are like everywhere, and they're like, well, I could get any other car, or I can get a Tesla, which I know there's a supercharger right down the street.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
If Tesla wants to get any of this money, they're going to have to switch over from their proprietary charge connectors to CCS, because that is one of the requirements.
They won't do that.
They want,
They actually already do that in Europe. In Europe, it's already the law is CCS, and so they've been using CCS on cars and on Tesla vehicles in Europe for several years now.
It's just that but they still get money if it's only for Teslas.
No, it has to be open to everybody.
All right. Well, there you go.
Anybody has to be able to use it without having to log into an app.
That's a lot of money. Well, I mean, if they can use that money, because it's not.
They can charge for the use. It can't be restricted to any particular brand, and it can't require an app.
Yeah, I mean, it's the money thing is where it comes down. They would have to use the money to do the software, because that software to get the Tesla to talk to every other car. People don't realize that it's not like a gas station where you just plug it in. It's a lot of electronics and computers talking to each other. Your car's computer, the thing's computer.
And a lot of times if you go to a public EV charger and you try to charge and it doesn't work, that's oftentimes what the problem is. It's often a software problem. Something's not communicating properly.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. It's like, I don't know you. They're like,
who are you in your fancy car? I don't know you. I've never seen you before.
It's essentially like, I don't know you. You're like, yeah, you do. You met me that one time. I don't think so. And then you go to the next charger, and the next charger is like, hey, I remember we met at that one time.
Hey, buddy.
Yeah. Well, I took the Lightning to my local EA station the other day just to see what kind of speed it would get. I plugged it in. Plug and charge worked perfectly. It authenticated, just immediately started charging, ramped up to 130 kilowatts, because it was already at 60% charge.
Yeah.
And it worked great. It was flawless.
They're getting the EA stations are getting much better. That doesn't like let them off the hook.
Yeah, but they're still having a lot of challenges in some places.
It still
everybody needs to do better.
Yeah.
Do better. Do better.
So let's talk about something that is the opposite of an EV.
Oh, that must be my turn.
Yes. What else did you drive this week?
I want to call it the Escalade, but it's actually the Escalade-V, which is the Cadillac's V series. That's their performance cars. And they've started this back in, I think it was 2004. And the few cars that they've done as a V series, one that they've never done until now is the Escalade. So now you have the Escalade-V, which is, it is bonkers. It's bonkers. The amount of gas it uses, I don't know, because neither the EPA nor Escalade nor Cadillac has given an estimate yet. They say it's actually not as bad as you might think, but
it's not quite in gallons per mile.
So just to give you an idea of what is it is a 6.2 liter supercharged V8 with 682 horsepower, 653 pound of torque, and a 10-speed automatic, 0 to 60. 4.4 seconds, 12.74 quarter mile at 110 miles an hour. I'm expecting it to be as fuel efficient as a Prius.
Yes. Who is asking for this, by the way? Who got into an Escalade and said, you know what? I want to race it.
You know what? I think you got to take your head out of, I have a Kona, I'm Robbie. Put your head into.
No. If I want to go fast.
Yeah.
You get at least a smaller SUV. The thing is,
but maybe you don't want that.
It's a locomotive.
Maybe you want a big car that can drive over your Kona, because I feel like I could accidentally do that, and I'd be like, did I just go for a speed bump? But so it is huge. It is absolutely huge, and we drove the long wheelbase because production issues. They didn't have the standard wheelbase in time for the drive. We had the long wheelbase. You cannot possibly drive a car bigger than this, I think, without needing a commercial license. It is gigantic, but. That said, it is absolutely a hoot to drive. The acceleration is so strong. It is so aggressive. It sounds amazing. You can actually change the way it sounds. There's a stealth mode, so your neighbors don't hate you if you start the car at like 4 a.m. for an early flight or something. Then there's a touring and a sport. You put it in sport, the exhaust does that fantastic like burble and cracking thing every time you slow down. It sounds like it should be a tiny little sports car thing, and you're like, nope. Ginormous Escalade, but it sounds really, really good. The sound is fantastic, and for the engineer who was horribly offended, nothing like a motorboat at all. It does not sound like a motorboat, as someone suggested. It has this really beautiful sound. He was talking about how they worked very hard to tune it to make it sound like a sports car, have that sporty 30 sound, but not be so harsh and aggressive, because it is still a luxury car. Escalade's a luxury vehicle. You don't want it to sound like you're driving, I don't know, I can't think of another, like a Mustang or something. You want it to sound like an Escalade. So sounds like an Escalade, drives like nobody's business, but it is unbelievably planted. Like, this is big. This is not a small vehicle. And they had us on this sort of swooping route that took us from, we were in Scottsdale, and we drove up to this like dam, Thomas Jefferson, somebody, I don't know, some famous
Roosevelt Dam.
I don't know, Theodore Roosevelt, that's what it was. Wrong guy. Theodore Roosevelt Dam. We drove up there, and there's a section of highway, there's a section of little narrow roads, and there's a lot of this very swooping highway where you're kind of swooping back and forth, and you're going up and down this. That was an absolute joy to drive, which I did not expect, because normally in a big vehicle like this that is powerful, that is also just so large, you get that kind of tippy side to side thing. That didn't happen. I was expecting to have to keep letting up on the gas, like scrubbing off a little speed, because I thought, you're going to feel like you're going a little too wide in that corner. Nope. You can keep your foot pretty much planted on that gas pedal, and you're going to pass everybody. Like, I'm passing by like trucks and other large SUVs that are like moving over because they can't drive that fast because they don't have the handling to do it. It truly handles like something much sportier than you would think. It's fun. It's a really fun car to drive. And it's got that nice, smooth Cadillac luxury car vibe. It's beautiful inside. The trims are gorgeous. It's not cheap.
So you and 6 of your friends can go really, really fast in a brick.
Six of your friends go really, really fast in a brick. But
or like a barn.
Or
like
barn.
a barn.
It's more of a barn.
So, I mean, you get like 16-way power adjustable front seats with heat.
Only
ventilation.
16-way?
Only 16. I know.
Unacceptable. I had 30-way in the Lincoln.
There's heat, ventilation, and massage. Did it have zebra wood accents in your Lincoln?
No, but we had walnut.
Zebra wood. I don't even know what zebra wood is, but I had zebra wood accents. There's a 36-speaker AKG audio system. 36 speakers. Like, seriously? So it has all of the over-the-top...
It's so big. The people in the back wouldn't be able to hear if you had less than 20.
And then it has that massive 38-inch, like, curved OLED screen across the front, and then like 16.9 inches, I think, is the infotainment section of this. So it's got this giant, beautiful screen on the front. If you get the long wheelbase that I was driving, the starting price is $152,990.
Bargain.
It is a bargain. But so when you talk about the fuel economy, that's going to be not what anybody wants to pay when gas is creeping up. If you're spending $152,990 in a car, you don't care. I mean, you really don't care. There's no way you were looking and going, is this going to be affordable?
If you're looking at an Escalade and you're like, you know what? I need to go really, really fast in an Escalade. Why? I don't know.
Because
Why
I
don't you just
can.
buy a sports car? No.
I want to be able to also take the kids to soccer practice.
For the same reason people want to be able to go from 0 to 60 in 2 seconds in a Tesla Model X. And just for reference, other large, very fast SUVs, the Bentley Bentayga Speed, 6-liter twin turbo W12 engine, 626 horsepower. And 664 foot-pounds of torque. What did you say the 0 to 60 was for the Escalade?
0 to 60 is 4.4.
See, the Bentayga Speed can do it in 3.8.
Oh.
But is the Bentayga smaller or bigger?
It is smaller. It is a bit smaller.
Like, I think you'd have to chop off everything behind the third row to remove the weight and size.
Everything behind the third row.
And it just whoosh is gone.
For the Escalade. The Escalade-V.
No, it's the Escalade-V. That's
Escalade-V.
Escalade-V. So, I mean, this is one of the, it is sort of not even sort of, it is a crazy over-the-top vehicle. It is not something that's going to be for everyone. It is a very limited number of people who are going to spend that kind of, exactly. But I love that they did it. I know you guys.
I wonder if Jeep will do a limited run of Grand Wagoneer L's with the Hellcat just before they end production of the Hellcat.
And wouldn't you love it? Like, tell me the truth. You wouldn't want to spend some time driving that? You wouldn't want to know what it was like to drive that beast of a vehicle with all that horsepower? You would. Sam, you would. Robbie, you would.
That doesn't make it any less ridiculous.
No, I'm not even denying the ridiculous, but I am okay with ridiculous when the ridiculous is done in a fun, like, it works for the ridiculous. If you have the money, if that's what you want, this does exactly what it's supposed to be. Great, big, luxury SUV with power that will just and handling that you don't expect from this. Oh, it's never going to be fun to drive. That's just a bunch of power. It's going to be awful. Nope. Drives really sporty, drives really fun. I thoroughly enjoyed my time with this vehicle. If I had $152,000 and I was looking for a 3-row SUV, this would be on my list. I love it. I really liked it.
I just wonder who the Escalade customer and the Escalade is. That's who I'm thinking about. Who's going to buy this in the Escalade customer? Like the people who are buying Escalades right now, who is saying, oh, you know what? I bought this really big luxury vehicle so I could show off that I had a big luxury vehicle. Or I'm picking people up at the airport.
Yes.
I wish we had some more power. Whereas, when you look at the BMW, like the X7 M60 is sort of ridiculous, but it's also, okay, BMW driver. That's where I'm...
But the guy buying the Escalade in the first place, right? You're not like, I would like a nice demure 3-row SUV for porting my family around town.
There's nothing demure about an Escalade.
No.
Correct. So you're looking for something that is like in your face. Like right here, people know you bought an Escalade. They know you spent a ton of money. Even if they don't know what, you don't have to know a thing about cars. You're like, that guy has an Escalade. Ooh, baby, he spent some money on a car. Now you put the little V-Series thing on it. Now you've made it even more expensive. Now you've made it even fancier. So if you are going to talk to your buddies and you're the guy who wants to be like, yeah, yo, bro, I bought an Escalade. You're like, oh, I got the V-Series because I wanted the power or whatever. It's like you are going to want to be that person. You are going to want to have the extra horsepower for the fun of it and for the bragging rights. Don't underestimate the power of bragging rights. If you're buying an Escalade, You
I'm
won
just
bragging
curious.
rights, you know.
Did they share any like information about the people who are buying the Escalade?
They did. Oh, I wish I could find the slide. They did have information, and the people who are buying it, it was part of their thing, and it had a lot of detail. And I'll see if I can find the slide. But they talked about prestige is literally one of the reasons. Like some people buy an expensive SUV because they want it. Like I don't care what my neighbor thinks. The person who's buying an Escalade is someone who's buying it for the prestige. They like that. They want to be noticed. They want people to see sort of that they have arrived. So what does that better than not only do you have an Escalade, you have an Escalade that you
With
can
a
hear
big
4
V on
blocks.
it.
Yeah, you can hear it 4 blocks away. Like your neighbors are like, wait, Robbie's home. Yep, that's him coming around the corner. Like you can hear this. So that's like added.
But it does have the quiet mode too, so if you don't want to disturb your neighbors.
It does. It has the stealth mode to tone things down, and then it has a tour mode and a sport mode. And I would put it in stealth mode for the 2 minutes it took me to get out of my neighborhood, and then immediately push the sport mode because it sounds just glorious. It does.
And that is the main thing that I will miss as we make the transition to electrification.
I know.
Is the sound of great engines.
I like the burble and pop of the exhaust, that pop burbly thing. Oh, I'm gonna miss that. I do like that. I like EVs. I'm not anti-EV at all, but I'm also not anti-redonkulous Escalade. I love this car. I like the Escalade.
I'm just sad because that's coming, and then they're gonna, the CT5V Blackwing. They sold like 7 of them.
Right.
Yeah.
That's what makes me
I know.
sad.
It's a shame.
That's a fun,
I've got one of those coming next month.
Do you?
Yeah. I've got both the CT4 Blackwing and the 5.
Ooh, back to back?
Oh,
Yeah,
aren't
same
you
time.
Mr. Fancy?
Oh. Well, now you got to hit up, get the Escalade.
Yeah.
Escalade.
Do all
I like
the
the
things.
Escalade. I really like the Escalade.
Escalade.
Yeah, I was looking up the Rolls-Royce Cullinan, and that one is only like 500 and something horsepower.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, but that's definitely like a train. That thing is just like nothing. Like you could run over a house. You could literally run over Nicole with it and wouldn't feel a thing in the in the driver's side. It's just like floating over the ground. Things get out of the way. They need to put like a cattle guard in front so it just pushes everything out of the way. But it wouldn't need it. If something got under it, doesn't matter.
Doesn't matter. Just going to go right by it. Boom, boom.
Yeah.
All right. Let's see. So that is the Escalade. That's a 2023
You're going
model.
to kill me. That's a 2023, yes.
Okay.
It shouldn't kill you. You loved it.
I did love it, but I've renamed it. I mean,
All right. Smartphones have gotten way more expensive over the past decade, and all it takes is one impact on a hard floor to make you wish you had spent a few bucks to put a case on it. Going online without ExpressVPN is like not having a case for your phone, and it only costs a few dollars a month. Nicole, Robbie, and I travel a lot for our work, and we spend a lot of time in hotels, coffee shops, airplanes, and of course the Delta Sky Club. Connecting to the Wi-Fi in any public places with shared Wi-Fi puts your data at risk because bad actors could be intercepting what you send and using it to steal from you. It only takes some cheap hardware to intercept Wi-Fi data, and even a smart preteen can do it. Hackers can make up to $1,000 per victim selling personal information on the dark web. ExpressVPN stops the bad guys by creating a secure, encrypted tunnel between your device and the internet. ExpressVPN uses state-of-the-art encryption that would take a supercomputer up to 1 billion years to crack. I have ExpressVPN on all my devices, including a MacBook Pro, Windows laptops and desktops, and Android and iOS phones and laptops, or tablets. When I want to be secure, I just launch the app, click once to connect, and my data is secure. As I said, I travel a lot for my work, and I have to connect to countless public Wi-Fi networks in many countries. I have ExpressVPN on all my connected devices so that whoever else is on the same network can't see any of my data. That's important because I often have to check banks, credit card accounts, and transmit client data that might be sensitive, as well as filing articles on news that might be under embargo. ExpressVPN protects all of it, and I've been paying for my own account for years. Secure your online data today by visiting expressvpn.com/wheelbearings. That's expressvpn.com/wheelbearings, and you can get an extra 4 months for free. expressvpn.com/wheelbearings.
One of the hardest parts of getting older is feeling like something's off in your body, but not knowing exactly what. It's not just aging, it's often your hormones too. When they fall out of balance, everything feels off. But here's the good news. This doesn't have to be the story of your next chapter. Hormone Harmony by Happy Mammoth is an herbal formula made with science-backed ingredients designed to fine-tune your hormones by balancing estrogen, testosterone, progesterone, and even stress hormones like cortisol. It helps with common issues such as hot flashes, poor sleep, low energy, bloating, and more. With over 40,000 reviews and a bottle sold every 24 seconds, the results speak for themselves. A survey found 86% of women lost weight, 77% saw an improved mood, and 100% felt like themselves again. Start your next chapter feeling balanced and in control. For a limited time, get 15% off your entire first order at happymammoth.com with code NEXTCHAPTER at checkout. Visit happymammoth.com today and get your old self back naturally.
We only have a couple of listener questions this week. Everybody's being lazy. And actually only one is a question. One is more of a comment. Adam J. posted on Twitter he took a photo of a window sticker on an F-150. The F-150 MSRP is $69,554. And this is not a Lightning. This is just a regular gas
Regular
F-150.
old F-150. Okay.
The market adjustment on here is also $69,554. So a 100% markup on this.
Good God.
$140,000.
I'm trying to read the comments.
Oh wait, sorry. This is a Lightning. Yes. Okay.
Did he talk to the dealership at all? I'm really curious what the dealership would say if you're like, seriously, you're seriously doubling the price of this car, and what they would say. Like, I just want to walk in and put them on the spot.
The argument that I have heard from someone at Ford about this, they are actively trying to discourage their dealers from doing it.
Right.
But the problem is, with vehicles like this that are in such high demand right now, there are also a lot of scalpers out there that are going out and buying these things and turning right around, and they're taking the profit on it. They're selling it for more than they paid for it. And so
scalp the scalpers? Is that the idea?
Basically,
let's scalp it first.
At least take some of that
Someone's going to rip you off.
Themselves.
It should
They're
be a
just
giant
taking the
company.
money.
Yeah.
If someone's going to rip you off, it's like a Ticketmaster. It's like, you know what? We think these, even though the tickets are $100, we think someone else is going to buy them and turn around some for $300. So you know what? F you, they're $300 now. That's
Screw you, we're taking all money.
That's the excuse.
Yeah. Pretty much.
The money's ours, all ours.
Although for what it's worth, that extra $70,000 is not going to Ford. That's going into the pocket of the owner of the dealership. So
yeah.
So it's might be a local business person. So You're supporting your local community.
Yeah, it's definitely not Ford who's taking that little chunk of change.
Yeah. Whatever you do, don't pay a dealer markup. Yeah. Just go somewhere else. Find another dealer.
Well, this is why
100%. Wow.
Jim Farley did that whole thing talking about how they want to go to online, negotiable sale numbers, sales price. So if the car is $70,000, you pay $70,000, but you go to the dealership and you get it, and the dealership gets their $800,000 or whatever money they get whenever they sell a car, as opposed to it's $70,000 and then it shows up at a dealership and now it's apparently $140,000.
Yeah, well, the challenge you get, is that, they might turn around and they might sell it to somebody and then turn around, that person might turn around and either sell it to somebody else or go trade it into another dealership, for a higher price, and then that they sell it used for, an even higher price, which is, it's an unfortunate byproduct of a situation when we've got more demand than supply.
So you could go buy an F-150 Lightning for $140,000, and you drive it off the lot and you put it on, I don't know, whatever source you use to sell it. Bring a trailer for $175,000, and someone pays that. So you just made $25,000 for buying a car and driving it to your driveway.
That's the same excuse like if you buy a Pokemon card at Target for $5 and you turn around and sell it for $100. So Target should raise the price of Pokemon cards to $100.
Yeah.
It's the logic is really flawed because you're saying, well, someone else is going to do this, so we might as well we might as well screw everyone. Because there's no way you can get this vehicle for less than this, as opposed to the 12 people who will buy it, maybe 2 of them will sell it.
The only way around this is, if you do what they did with the Ford GT, which is, as part of the purchase agreement, you agree that you're not allowed to sell this for 2 years.
And no one's going to do that because the person buying a Ford GT is like, that's sort of an exclusive luxury customer that's different. Yeah. If you're buying a truck, you're just a regular guy. Like, you don't know what your financial world situation is going to be. It might not be like you're trying to make a buck. It might just literally be like, oh, things have gone sideways. I need to sell my car. And now you can't. That's not, again, the amount, the percentage of people who are like flipping trucks after they buy at a dealership is far lower than the percentage of people who just want that truck. Mm-hmm. Yeah. That's the thing, is that you're screwing over everyone because 5 people, and if those people want to buy something and turn around and sell it, it's the same thing on the the gray market with everything that gets sold. That's a collector's item. Mm-hmm. But when you set the precedent that, you know what, it's just going to be this much for everyone, that's messed up. Yeah, that's tough.
So don't pay a markup if you
don't pay a markup, people. Don't do that. Avoid it.
All right. Don't let them use crazy dealer logic, by the way.
Yeah. So last question is from Paul Kavanaugh. How come Sam and Roberto never talk about pie?
I spent like 3 days tweeting almost exclusively about pie. There's a whole Twitter thread about pie.
You guys don't talk nearly as much about pie as I talk about pie. Pie is life. I mean, I have a pie club. We literally go when we find pie in random cities, and we go. It's like, hey guys, I found pie at XYZ Pie Shop in whatever city I'm in. I talk about pie a lot. I steal pie I sneak pie all the way from California back to New Hampshire. I randomly get pie everywhere. I now get pie recommendations from random people on Twitter, and it warms my cold, dead heart. I'm like, oh, someone knew I was here and recommended a pie shop. Because you need to embrace the pie life. You just get pie everywhere you go. It will make you happy. Chocolate cream, berries. Whatever kind of pie.
Clearly not as much as you.
I love pie.
I love to eat pie. I'm not talking about pie. It's just not something that I traditionally do a whole lot. But what I will recommend, is if you are in Detroit, my
Give
wife
me a pie recommendation. I have to do a drive where I'm going to be doing this random drive with Eileen, and we're gonna stop at places. And I was looking for pasties and pie.
Okay, well, there used to be a really good pie maker here in Ypsilanti where I live. Unfortunately, she moved to Portland, Oregon. So other Portland,
not
the one near you.
I know the one near me is road trippable.
Yeah, it doesn't help you, but. If you want something a little bit different, there's a fantastic new patisserie in Detroit called Warda Patisserie. It's in Midtown Detroit, and if you like pastries, if you like quiche, which is sort of like a pie.
Okay, it's pie-like, pie adjacent.
She makes this amazing quiche that is like custard. The texture is like custard. It is incredible.
See? We are arriving very early one day, for this drive for the Ford Bronco Everglades, actually. And we're arriving quite early and driving up to some
Driving up, is this the one to Drummond Island?
Yes, to Drummond Island. And we're driving up there, and we're going to ping all the way up and stop at pie shops, pastries, coffee, pasties, and whatever else. We found a taxidermy museum.
Is your route going to take you near Traverse City?
We haven't. I don't know if we're going. I don't know. We have not mapped it out yet.
So you should go to Traverse City Pie Company. The pie is great there. And there's all kind, especially once you get like north of Bay City area, Saginaw area. There's lots of places where you can get great pasties.
See, everybody listening who's like a Detroit person or a Michigan person, you got to tell me where I should be driving. Tell me where I should be stopping. Tweet me. We will make a giant list, and we will have all the tasty treats on our way up to drive in a swamp.
Excellent. All right. Any more thoughts on pie, Robbie?
I am team pie. I don't really like cake all that much. I like pie. So there's that. And I am tweeting at Paul Kavanaugh my 12 tweet thread about pie. When I got the Julian Pie Company, I just tweeted it. It's at the top of my feed now. Where I got the Julian Pie Company, I got a pie, and then I just had to do a bunch of things with this pie.
Okay.
In order to get it home. But
see, your home is still California. My home is New Hampshire. When I take a pie home from Julian, I commit.
Yeah, but I had to take it. I picked it up on one drive program, and then went to another drive program with the pie.
Okay.
I just drove around with pie. It was the the Hyundai drive program, the Ioniq 5.
Yes, I bought one and brought it home.
And then right after that, I went on the Mercedes drive program. By the time I got home, it had been in 9 vehicles.
I see it. Pie thread.
Oh, no, wait. 8 vehicles. Pie vehicle 8.
See, okay. Did you, you ate it with a fork and knife? And it's like a metal fork and knife? I mean, if you're really committed, you're like chopping at that thing with like the stirrer that's in the hotel room for the coffee and finding
I stole things so I could eat it in my room.
So what is your favorite kind of pie?
Me?
Who, me?
Yeah, both of you.
I don't know, pie.
No, my favorite kind of pie, they have a pie that is in fact from Julian Pie Company, and it's like mountain berry, I think is what they call it. It's like raspberry, blackberry. It's like 3 or 4 different kinds of berries in it. That is my absolute favorite. You warm up a slice while you're there, and they put ice cream on top of it, and it gets melty. Mm-hmm. And then you take a whole pie home for yourself for later.
Is that the one I bought? I got the Boysen apple crumb. That's what the one.
No, that's different. This is literally like mountain berry, I think is what they call it, but it's like 3 or 4 different kinds of berry. It's the kind of thing, if you get it on your clothes, just throw the shirt away. It's never coming out.
Or just suck on the...
You just suck all the juice out of your shirt, then throw it away.
I mean, don't waste good pie. Come on.
I am quite fond of a great strawberry rhubarb pie. That is something that I have not had in far too long.
I brought that home that was the last pie I brought home from Julian.
Strawberry rhubarb?
My husband's favorite is strawberry rhubarb, and I like strawberry rhubarb, but he's like an aficionado of that particular combination. He rated it quite highly, just so you know.
We used to grow rhubarb in our backyard in our previous house, but we haven't had any for a while, so I'd have to find some. But I also love like a great pecan pie.
I love pecan pie.
Just a classic apple pie is great too.
Pumpkin pie. My husband makes a really good homemade pumpkin pie, like with real pumpkin at Thanksgiving. It's good stuff. See? Right. Now we've all talked about pie, Paul. Right. Welcome to the pie show.
And I tweeted a link to Warda Patisserie in Twitter from the Wheel Bearings account. So
there we go. Now people who are not now people
and I'll put that in the show notes as well.
People are completely confused because they don't hear the show right now. They're just
why is pie? Why are they talking about pie? Because Nicole. That's why.
Was there a pivot? A pie pivot?
It's now officially a pie show.
Yeah.
Pie show.
So the wheel bearings were pie plates. Yeah. Welcome.
Pie.
All right. One last thing. We'll say goodbye now, but I've got an interview that I did when I was in Texas for the Toyota Palooza, this time with Cooper Ericksen, who is the head of product planning at Toyota North America. And we talked about, I asked him about some of the questions we've had about, the slow charging and stuff on the BZ4X. So he had some response in there. And so give that a listen. And we'll talk to you next time. Bye.
Bye, everyone.
Bye-bye. Bye-pie. All
right, let's talk Toyota electrification. Let's do it. Toyota, I guess Toyota and Lexus, too.
Okay.
First question, is the BZ on sale yet? Or is that...
Yes.
Okay. How's the response been so far to the BZ4X?
It's been great. Dealers have told us the inventory they have exposure to is sold out. They have many customers coming in wanting to check it out. So I would say very early, and availability is very tight. But so far so good.
I'm curious, what kind of feedback have you gotten from customers that are looking at the BZ4X compared to, there's a number of competitors out there in the marketplace now, that are similar size, in a similar price range. Have you gotten feedback from customers what they think about things like the range, the charging rates, things like that?
Yeah, it's pretty early for customer feedback. There's not a lot in customers' hands yet, but we've gotten lots of feedback from media, journalists, and some customers. And it's really pretty simple. People love the driving dynamics. They love the SUV functionality in interior space. They love the intuitive nature of the controls and technology. You don't need to learn how to drive the vehicle. It's very intuitive. The ground clearance is something that is very SUV, normal. Most EVs sit a little bit lower, so people say it has really good off-road, mild off-road, more like a RAV4.
Yeah. Within reason.
Yeah.
It's not going to it's not going to follow a Wrangler into the trails.
No, wouldn't suggest that. But for EVs, that was something that, frankly, I was surprised to hear from the reviews. But that there was a lot of comments about, hey, this is good,
it's surprisingly capable
for a unibody EV. It's very competitive. It has the most ground clearance, I think, of any of them they mentioned. So all of those things are the positives, and then some of the things we've heard from customers is the range doesn't meet my expectation, and that's completely understandable. The reality is, there's different ways to look at range, and we are really focusing on the best utilization of battery resources. We can only build so many batteries. We can only have so many raw materials to build batteries. And we're dividing those raw materials up between hybrid batteries and plug-in hybrid batteries and now battery electric vehicle batteries. And so the average person commutes 24 miles a day. You put a battery in their vehicle to let them go 300 or 400 miles. That weight and that cost and that resource is not the best use. We also know that, high 90 percentile of consumers that are currently buying EVs, it's a second, third, or fourth car in their family. So they're not relying on that vehicle for long trip, family vacations, things like that. So there are, range anxiety is real, and so we recognize that. So we're trying to strike this balance. But we feel it's going to meet a lot of customers' needs. It's a good value proposition for consumers. Starting price is $42,000 something. So it's a really good value proposition, and that's affordability is going to be key. But customers would want more range, but we're just trying to balance the resources there and give most of the customers what they want. There's some that's fine. Go buy a car with more range if that's what you need. Charging times are a little bit different with the all-wheel drive and the front-wheel drive. 90 kilowatt hours versus I think 150 kilowatt hours of charge rate. So we've heard some of that feedback. The onboard DC charger is like 6.6 kilowatts of power, and so that's something we do.
The AC charger.
The AC charger. So it's AC to DC converter, right?
Yeah.
So we've heard that from consumers. Our design intent and the use of this vehicle was you bring it home and it charges overnight and you have it. So that was the thinking of optimal use cases. You bring it home and charge it.
And for early adopters, who are much more likely to have, single family home with off-street parking, that's probably fine for them.
Yeah. So we know that's an area. So when it comes to everything the customers have said they want more of, maybe more range, quicker charging, all of those things we are taking and we are evaluating, and we will continue to figure out how to meet more and more customers' needs as we need to expand, and we're able to expand our BEV volume. So it's all great feedback we're getting from customers.
I think one thing I've heard from listeners to my Wheel Bearings podcast, a number of people have written in asking, in particular, the all-wheel drive version with the CATL battery, which has the lower fast charging rate, 100 kilowatts versus 150 for the front drive version. If you think about consumers that live in more northern climes, probably more likely to want to go for an all-wheel drive version. We're expecting colder weather, and you're starting off with a slower nominal charge rate, and then when it gets cold, that tends to get even worse in cold temperatures. It's just the nature of the physics of batteries. Is there anything that you can offer as to why that setup has such a 1/3 lower maximum charge rate?
It has to do with the battery design and the chemistry, and we're really challenged from a battery global supply chain standpoint. So there's not a product reason for why one has one battery and one has another. It's really the maximum available production that we can get from different sources, and just trying to optimize that for our product lineup. So that's it's really supply chain and just getting the battery capacity or the volume, not capacity from a range or charging, but capacity from a production volume capacity.
Yeah, and you mentioned earlier the way most people actually use their vehicles as opposed to what they buy. And I think we can all agree that automotive consumers are not necessarily entirely rational in their buying decisions much of the time, which would explain why so many people drive around with just one person in a large SUV. And the same applies to EVs. Obviously, people they may think that they want to take road trips all the time, or maybe they even do it on a regular basis. But the reality is, most of the time they're driving 25, 30, 35 miles a day, and they could probably easily get by. I mean, certainly, I think anything over 200 miles of range on an EV is probably more than sufficient for 90+% of consumers. Is there anything that you can do, or is there anything that maybe Toyota might try to do to help educate consumers more about some of these issues? You're carrying around all this extra battery that you're not using most of the time. To maybe try to steer people towards a little more rational buying decision that you can get by with 220 miles or 240 miles, and if you want to take that trip to the Grand Canyon, or even to visit the grandparents, whatever, maybe you rent a vehicle for that trip instead of taking the EV. Is that something that Toyota is thinking about, or?
Well, consumer education is a tricky business. It's kind of interesting. For the first 15 years of selling hybrids, the biggest rejection reason was, I don't want to plug it in. And you never had to plug in a hybrid. It was just the perception, it's electric, you got to plug it in. So we spent all this money telling people you don't need to plug in your hybrid. And then we come out with a plug-in Prius hybrid. And now we're telling them, you got to plug it in. And I from a consumer, wait, what?
A little bit of whiplash there.
And so the bottom line is, it takes time for consumers to learn things and talk to each other, and it's cocktail parties. So I think we're seeing that right now in the industry. So I don't know if there's any magic bullet from a marketing standpoint. What we're trying to do is make their lives seamless and show them they can do it. So, we have, partnerships for out-of-home charging where it's free for the first year, right? We have partnerships for in-home charging. We want the charging experience to be seamless. A one-app application for charging locations. So we're doing what we can to try to make it a seamless experience. And our retail partners, we're working with them, Lexus and Toyota, to come up with ways to possibly have use our existing loaner fleets to satisfy that need of I need to go, on a trip. So we're looking into doing some things like that, and I anticipate we probably will one of these days to satisfy those needs. So beyond the consumer just experiencing this and then having a favorable opinion about it, there's not a lot we can do from a marketing standpoint. I mean, I don't think it's you're flushing money down the drain.
Right.
It's just going to take time for consumers to learn and grow comfortable with it. And frankly, I'm not in the business of predicting, but there will be a day when I don't think range anxiety is going to be the biggest issue. I think affordability is going to be the biggest issue. And I think consumers will make decisions on, there's a 150 mile that I can get for this price and a 500 mile I can get for that price. I can't afford the 500, or I'm going to get the 150 because that works for me. Right now, it's a race to who can have the most range because they're trying to overcome range anxiety. But I think once consumers get used to driving an EV, they're going to realize what you're talking about, where 25 miles a day, I'm pretty much fine. And the affordability is going to be an issue. Yeah. Definitely going to be an issue.
Well, I'd say it's already an issue now.
Yeah, I equate it to old school, maybe engine size and horsepower. Well, everybody might want the 600 horsepower V8, but you're on a Corolla budget, so you're not getting a 600 horsepower V8. You're getting a 120 horsepower four-cylinder. It'll last for the next 100 years, so that's great, but it ain't that. Right. So it's consumers making decisions on what they can afford. And so, EVs are a lot more expensive right now. So in order to get to mass adoption, we got to figure out as an industry how to sell a Corolla priced car, a Camry priced car, a RAV4 priced car. That's an EV with acceptable range.
And certainly, I don't disagree that hybrids I think are a great solution for a lot of people, especially if they're looking at smaller vehicles, either cars or smaller crossovers. When you start looking at the actual energy use, hybrids absolutely make a ton of sense. Because as you get more and more efficient, the incremental reductions in energy use from every additional mile per gallon or mile of EV range goes down. Yeah. And so the real benefits to all this stuff is at the low end of the efficiency range. Yeah. So driving a Corolla hybrid or a RAV4 hybrid is not in real terms is actually probably not that much different from driving a BZ4X.
Yeah. Well, actually, it's TRI, I believe. They actually have a website, GHG track or something. We can get that one. You know the one I'm talking about, right? Yeah. So you can put in your vehicle and where you live, and it shows your emissions, right? And the reality is, the power grid. Some parts of the country are greener than others, and that this indicates that a battery electric pure EV versus a hybrid. If you live in an area that has a green grid, of course the battery electric is a little bit better, but not dramatically. It's a little bit better. But if you live in an area with a non-green grid, then they're pretty equal, and in some cases the hybrid may actually be better. Our hybrids are super efficient, of course. So, yeah, you're right. The difference in actual greenhouse gas emissions is pretty close, depending on where you're at.
Yeah. So, going back to batteries, and this applies, across the range. Everybody is experiencing supply constraints with batteries, and part of that is the materials going into the batteries. Some OEMs are actively getting involved, investing in the material production. Is that something that you see Toyota likely pursue? I mean, you've started, investing in the battery, in the cell production. You've got the plant coming online in Greensburg. You've had a long-term joint venture with Panasonic for your hybrid batteries. Do you see Toyota expanding further down the supply chain to those materials, and either the extraction or maybe on the recycling side?
Well, there's parts of the supply chain that I'm not really versed in, so I'll give you what I know. We have many partnerships. It's BYD and Panasonic and another Toyota Tetsuro partnership. There's about 7 or 8 different companies and partnerships that we have for battery supply. And we, for a couple of decades, have been the biggest manufacturer of automotive batteries. Right, we build more batteries than anybody. We've been the volume leader in electrified vehicles for 22 straight years. So this is not new for us. And the reality is batteries are very diverse. There's a role and a place for nickel metal hydride batteries. We got new bipolar nickel metal hydride batteries with higher energy density. There's a role for lithium ion, and there's different forms of lithium ion. And there's going to be a role someday for solid-state batteries. So batteries are not a one-size-fits-all. So I am sure that we're pretty deep into the supply chain on that, but I can't tell you for certain what that looks like. On the recycling side, we have a group here at our headquarters working on reuse of batteries. So we again, our goal for carbon neutrality is not the emissions of the vehicle. Our goal for carbon neutrality is the entire acquisition of raw materials, the assembly, manufacturing, cradle to grave. And at the grave part, right now there's not a really efficient way to recycle lithium ion. So at the end of this life, what do? Well, let's reuse some of these to in-home, power wall, whatever you want to do. We're going to then figure out how to recycle these things. So we're setting up programs and working with partners to pull that off. That's going to be more and more important as the industry volume on BEVs ramps up. So we're active in that space. I just don't know how deep down the supply chain we go.
Obviously, there's millions of about 15 million Toyota hybrid vehicles that have been sold to date.
Oh, I bet we're 20 million now. We were 18.1 million at the end of 2020, I believe. So we're probably well over 20 million.
Let's say 20 million.
Yeah. And it's accelerating rapidly. I mean, in a couple of years, hybrids are going to be 40-50% of our total volume, and we're flipping vehicles over to 100% hybrid pretty quick. The UX we just flipped over, the Sienna we just flipped over last year 100%. Sequoia is 100%. So it's mainstream. So the numbers are accelerating rapidly.
So with all these hybrids on the road, and some of them have been on the road for a long time, as part of the business, are you looking at recovering those batteries, when they reach the end of their useful life in the vehicle, they still may have some useful life for other applications. Is that something that you're pursuing?
Yeah, that's the reuse portion of the end of life. Yeah. So I can't tell you. I know there's activity there. I can't tell you specifically what is happening. We've done lots of pilots throughout the years. We've partnered with Yellowstone Park and used some of the batteries to provide storage for solar energy storage for certain parts of the park that are off the grid. So there's things like that going on, but I don't know exactly where we're at right now with that.
Okay.
If you wanted to dive into that, if you want to dive into the battery deal, we could set up probably a different interview with James George or Chris Yang or somebody.
Okay. Just this morning, there was a release that came out of Toyota in Japan on they're going to start selling a home energy storage, a home energy battery. I don't know. That sounds like you haven't seen that.
Thank you.
Okay. Well, I was going to ask if that's a product that's going to be available here in North America. Didn't really give any indication in the release that I saw.
I think it's a good idea. Yeah. But I've not seen that yet.
Okay.
Yeah, we're working on. Focus has been seamless ownership experience for the customer in their house, level 2 charger. But we're doing a lot of work to try to figure out how to connect, those customers with the green grid and how to store energy at their house. So that's all probably part of the mix. I wasn't aware of that announcement yesterday, but it would make sense, and I think it'd be great to consider selling in the U.S.
What about bidirectional charging? Is that something that Toyota is developing and we're likely to see in future plug-in vehicles?
Yeah, so when that's part of the battery utilization. The ability to go both ways allows you to manage your energy costs, and it makes sense. So yeah, I would say when it comes to setting up the engineering parameters for future products, that's something that's on the table. Building a car is the art of compromise, right?
Oh yeah, I know.
No car has everything, and so we have to weigh the cost and the consumer benefit. How many consumers will need it? We don't want to charge 100% of the customers for something when 1% of the customers use it. So we're going through all of those things, but that is a feature that we feel is going to serve a role and that we want to deliver on.
Okay. Time. We're just about done. Any final thoughts about kind of Toyota's overall strategy when it comes to electrification that we haven't talked about?
Our goal is not electrification. Our goal is carbon neutrality. Our goal is the elimination of greenhouse gas. And we think the fastest path to that goal is the best path. So if the fastest path turns out to be battery electric vehicles, let's go. Right now, there's too many hurdles for us to really say that. So we have a portfolio approach. We think that's best for reducing greenhouse gas the quickest. A combination of hybrid, plug-in hybrids, battery electric vehicles, fuel cell vehicles. We think the portfolio approach is the quickest path to carbon neutrality.
Okay, great. Thank you, Cooper.
Thanks, sir.
Good to talk to you.
Yeah.
Thanks, Sam.
All you homeowners have unique needs. Some feel the need to paint their door a vibrant shade of blue. Others have the need to decorate their bathroom with fish, anchors, and other nautical items. And because each homeowner has unique needs, Geico helps you get the right coverage for your home and what's in it. That way, you get exactly what's right for you, even if your needs are unique. Get more with Geico.